So we're learning, today is our sixth class about the depths of prayer. We're going to learn the merit of the IDF soldiers, of all the hostages. We're going to learn the merit of Idan ben Chaim, Ayal ben David, Yaakov ben Yosef, and Dina bat Yaakov. May the Neshama have an Aliyah. Next week we're actually going to have also an interesting class. It's going to be my father's yahrzeit. So B'ezrat Hashem, just a preview. We're going to actually learn about what Kaddish means and what does it mean, what does Kedusha mean, and the likes. And we're going to have something a bit unique for next week. So should be fun. For this week we're going to continue. So last time we spoke about Tefilin. But Tefilin, as I'm reading through it and as I'm about to kind of like summarize and move on, I just see that there's so many things that we're supposed to learn there. There's so many extra understandings that I feel like we're missing, and we're missing on a lot of good... Oh, this one closed. Okay, reconnected.
Recording in progress.
Yeah. So there's a lot of blessings that we miss out because of it, which is really chaval, which is really a shame, because we can really dive a bit into it. So when we spoke about it, we spoke about what it means, what is the four parshiyot, right? And the Shema, and then each one of them goes and correlates to the 10 Commandments, and we try to understand what are the blessings that we go ahead and control. We spoke about the Melech. You had it acting in class once, but basically Melech is Moach, Shalit al Alev, Shalit al Kaved. Our brain controls the heart, controls the liver, and we try to understand what it means and how we do it. So today we're going to talk about, we just opened up the Tefillin box, and we saw the Tefillin Shel Rosh, which has the letter Shin, and then you have it in three different components like we saw. The Shin is on top, then you have the Dalet, which is the bottom, the back tie, then you have the Yud, which connects to the hand. So have we ever thought about what each letter means? What are the powers of the letters? There's a whole series of explanations in Hidabrut, which is it's a website that Rav Zamir Cohen has, and it's some of his books I started my tshuva with. And he comes in and gives us a description on the simplistic level, Kabbalistic level, on the depths of it, on the Drash Ramesh, about what each letter means. And I went ahead and I tried to research a bit to try to understand a bit better what we're doing with each one, and why is each one so important for us to put in our head. Why do we need to put in our head all these letters and all these numbers and combinations? It doesn't really make sense if you look at it from the plain level. So we're going to start with letter Shin. Letter Shin comes in and talks about a change, Shinui. Right? In Hebrew, Shin Shinoi, that's a swift change that comes into play when we put the Tefillin on. We spoke about last time that our halo changes when I put the Tefillin on. So the change starts immediately. As soon as I put it on, it's almost like I put an amplifier on my head, and I start to get some more of that added spirituality. But he comes in and tells us that Shin has a swift change, and we see it in a lot of the words that has the letter Shin in them. For example, fire. How do we say fire in Hebrew? Esh. So what happens with the condition of Esh? Fire comes in, and he takes something that's in a perfectly fine condition, and it burns it, and it changes his situation. Then you have Shvira, which is what? Breaking. So when I break something, I take something that's whole and complete, I throw it on the floor, it's broken into pieces. So I change the form. Then we have singing. So when I sing, what happens? I'm going ahead and I'm using voices out of my mouth. I use it and I manipulate it in certain ways, and then I can go ahead and create a song. Now granted, we have guys who take the song and they make it holy, and they do nigunim, and they do Jewish songs, and the ones that we do hip-hop and rap and Drake and Kanye West and all that nonsense. So it really depends on what you do for the voice that you take out of your mouth. Then you have shiluach, which is sending in Hebrew. So you go ahead and you send a package from here there, you change the location of the item. Then you have shen. What happens with shen? What is shen? Teeth. What happens with the shinaim? What do we do with them? We chop the food, we change one condition to a different condition. Then you have also sleeping. So from a place that I'm awake, that I'm aroused, that I'm in a certain frequency level, I sleep, I change myself. I become 1/60th of Tuma, of impurity. I become 1/60th of death. I become 1/60th of Nevuah. A lot of the different layers that you can transform yourself into, and the letter Shin is always very, very prevalent in this. And then it comes in, and there's something really a bit deeper if you go and dive in. The letter Shin appears in the word Kedusha. Right? Kedusha is what? Holiness. So when we look at Kedusha, Kedusha is the holiest of the holiest, is the highest level of the worlds. We're going to talk about it, what those worlds mean and how they connect to the prayer. But that also is appearing in the word Rasha. What is the word Rasha? Wicked or evil. So when we look at Rasha, then you can go ahead and you can use that shin and put it in different places and change the meaning. This story comes in from the Maggid Mezrich. He came in and he said that the word Rasha is representing to purity or holiness that was captured between two klipot, between two basically covers that protects it, and impure covers that come in and don't let it show and reveal the full potential. Don't let it transform something from physical to spiritual. And then he comes in and he tells us that what we have in the letter Resh comes in and represents Gaiva, all right, the arrogancy. And then Ain is similar to Ain, or eyes, and it goes ahead and it speaks on the negative. It speaks about us looking at the world with a negative eye. It's about us being critical. It's us seeing things negatively. It's us seeing things and we see the glass half empty rather than one that's half full. And when we look at it, and if a person understands and connects to the secrets there, then we can flip it. And once we flip it, then we go ahead and we use it for the benefit. So first of all, we don't use our arrogancy for the bad, but we use it for be able to serve Hashem and be proud about being Jewish. A lot of times people, they go to, Paris, and they'll take off their kippah. Or a lot of people go even to downtown Los Angeles or to, a rodeo drive. And then once they're there, now I'm secular, now I'm taking my kippah off. Unfortunately, I've seen one of my students do that. And to me, it was really upsetting. What are you doing? You're Jewish. You're proud. You should be proud about who you are. You shouldn't take it off when you're in certain places. So that's about us being proud, so to speak, about us being Jewish. You should not be afraid of it. The Ayin comes in and look, first of all, open up our eyes and see what we do in our actions. So what does it mean? I need to be very attentive to what I do on a daily basis. If I look at someone in a negative eye, look at it in the positive. If I go ahead and I'm judging someone unfavorably, look at what you do have. Right? We say Modani every morning. We said with Jewish essence is to be in Hodaya, is to be grateful. So if I'm waking up in the morning, I'm looking at the positive, my whole day is going to look perfectly fine. If I look at it as the negative, then my day will be bitter and grouchy. And that's really the perspective that he says that. Once we clean it, once we fix it, then the idea of Ra, which is the Resh in the beginning and the Ain at the end, is going to turn into Er. What is Er? Awake or aroused, or someone who's aware of what's going on around him. And then when we do that and we flip it, the shin is in the middle, we take the Er and we add the shin in the middle, we get the number Eser. Ein, Shin, Resh. Eser. What is Eser? Eser is the number 10. It speaks about the 10 counts, the spheros that we have in this world, and it talks about something that's complete. Right? So the complete number is the number 10. And we look at it and we understand it, then we understand that the Sfirot, by us changing our behavior, changing our perspective of life, changing the way we see the world, and changing the way that we're working on our midot, or on our traits, we can, from being wicked, we can transform and become the nicest person. And you see it, where do you see it a lot? I saw it you see it with Rabbi Pinto, you see it with the Biala Rebbe, you see it with really every tzaddik that there's consensus that he is a tzaddik. Rabbi Buchatzera up in Nahariya in Israel. You go and you see there's a lot of people who are questionable there. You see people who are doing crimes, who are doing maybe drugs, people that are, you can call it Reshaim. But then you see them around the tzaddik. And you say to yourself, how is it possible that the tzaddik is surrounding all these, the wicked people around him? Or how all these holy people go and accept a person who has all these tattoos on him and all these actions. But I know he did 1, 2, and 3 bad. So how come the rabbi accepts him? So what do you think? What do you suggest? Any suggestions to that? Why do they take the wicked like that? So what they do is they identify that same sense of neshama in them. They see the spark, right? The kedusha. That shin is the essence. It's like the essence spark that each person has, the kedusha part. And if we just need to go ahead and light it up, and we need to reveal it. We need to take the klipot and break them. That's what the tzaddikim do. By them keeping a wicked person next to them, they go ahead and they cause them to shake up all these nonsense and to shake up all these bad actions and flip the idea of Rasha to Eser. Flip the idea of Ra to Er. From being evil to being someone who is awake and being attentive to what I'm doing and behaving. So now, if we're going in and we're jumping into the Chafetz Chaim, we're trying to see what how much is my speech important when I go ahead and I approach it? And each letter there's something we're going to touch, so try to stay with me.
Do you go by that there's two different levels of Russia?
No, we're not going to the Tanya. That's the Rosh Hashanah Gamur, Rosh Hashanah Gamur. That's something else, and that's a whole discussion on its own. Right now, we're talking about the idea of the letters on the actual tefillin. Right, we have the shin on the top, we have the daled in the back, and we have the yud on our hand. So, what is each one? What is each letter means, and how do we can hone into that energy and use it for our advantage? So here it comes in and speaks about, now we put the tefillin on, right? So now we need to try to understand what our speech is allowing us to do. And he says here that when we go ahead and we speak in a certain way, we're strengthening the bond between me and another person. It's strengthening the bond between me and myself, and it's strengthening the bond between me and God Almighty, right? Between Kadosh Baruch Hu. So he says here that let's say we have a friend. I have a good friend that has a good friendship with me for years. We've been best buddies. And that friend comes in one day and he goes ahead and he speaks and shares with me a secret that's not positive. Something about him being right? Being evil, being wicked. And he asks you, please don't share that secret. So you go ahead and you say, okay, I promise, I go ahead and I'll respect your request. And then comes another friend, and you start to talk and you start to have a good time, and you schmooze and this and that, and you loosen up, maybe alachaim, maybe this, that. And you sit there for a while, and all of a sudden, you want to start, you remember that story, and you say, he knows him, man, maybe I'll just tell him, it's not so bad. And then what you have there is a decision between going ahead and now entertaining the person you're with, and going ahead and having this relationship with the person you're about to share the secret with, or keeping that secret with the friend and then staying loyal to the friend that told you, please keep my secret quiet. So what is the challenge that we face there? What we're trying to basically overcome is delaying our satisfaction. And when we go ahead and we put that feeling on, we know halacha. We're not touching this halacha today, but halacha comes in and tells us we're not supposed to speak words that are impure, and we're not supposed to have even thoughts that are impure when we put our feeling on. And think about it in the past, we spoke about it, I think last time also, people used to wear tefillin all day, from the morning until the evening, until sundown. And they would go ahead and wear the tefillin, they would be walking in Kedusha and do everything in life pure. So at least for us, for this time being, we should stay pure and we should stay being able to go ahead and delay the satisfaction. So that's the first one. Then he comes in and moves to the letter Daled. What is the letter Daled? The letter Daled comes in and talks to us about Chesed, right? The Chesed ends with the letter Daled. So comes in and also tells us Daled is what in numerical value? That's 4. So it comes in and stands for 4 winds of the earth, right? East, west, north, and south. It also speaks about the 4 words of creation, which is Atzilut, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. These are 4 words that are spiritual worlds that we're living in. And when we see everything, when we put the tefillin on, we basically are drawing light from the upper worlds. The highest world is called Atzilut. And in the prayer, the Arizal of Siddur shows us how we go from one world to the other spiritual world to the other spiritual world, and we finish up in the Shmoneh Esrei, in the world of Atzilut, which is the highest, loftiest place. And this is really where we say that we bring down the Shekhinah, right? We bring down the divine protection to us in the Tefilah. So we're able to go ahead and climb up the ladder. But how do we do that? We use that almost like that radio speaker on top of our head that goes ahead and absorbs the light. So that's one. So he comes in and tells us that once we understand that Daled goes to the 4 corners of the earth and goes to the idea of the 4 worlds that we're trying to bring down to us, but we live in a world that's called Olam HaAsiyah. What is Olam HaAsiyah? Olam HaAsiyah is this world. It's the world of doing, of material. It's the world that we can distinguish between a table and a book, a cup and a phone. I can distinguish because I don't have the same exposure of light. I don't have the same exposure of spirituality like the upper worlds. It's the lowest, and we're supposed to go and take physicality, bring it up to spirituality. So in this world, we understand the limitations that we have. If you look at the way that the letter Dalet is written, you have that one line, and then you have the other line, right? These, you see that they're not complete. Like this one line is chopped in one corner, this one is chopped in one other corner, and the top line is, you see that also, like it goes up and down. It's linear and linear, like it has horizontal and vertical, and that's it. So it shows us that the letter itself, but the way it's structured, it's very limited. And when we understand that, we understand that we're very limited, and that would go ahead and bring us the idea of, on one hand, I'm humble, I'm poor in this world, I don't have many compared to the upper worlds, but it also brings us to the word of dliya. What is dliya? It's us taking water from the well and carrying it with us. So we're supposed to
Leah with the Gimel.
dliya with the daled. Daled lamed yud hey. So when we do that, we're basically extracting the water from the well. And how do we do that? By going and performing the mitzvot, by going ahead and working and worshiping and refining our character, and all the idea about us getting spirituality, physicality, and raising it to spirituality. The Zohar comes in and adds another layer to it. It's the introduction. He says that he who goes ahead and gives the proper thought, when we say the Shema, we put that tefillin on, we say the Shema Yisrael. What is the last word? Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Echad ends with the letter Daled, and if you see the letter Daled, I'll show you. Okay. And it's interesting, I'm curious if the Ashkenazi Siddur has it also, but basically the Daled here, okay. What's the size of the letter Daled? It's bigger than the rest of the letters, right? Right? It's bigger than on the rest of the letters. So basically, what's the idea? Is that the Daled, if we go ahead and we bring all of these four corners of the earth and all four worlds of creation, we bring down spiritual energy like nothing else. Because we go ahead and we unify God in every aspect of every corner of this world. We say with the Aleph that God is one and it controls everything, and 8 that it's above nature, right? The Chet. So we bring down all that spiritual light, and we do it by the Dalet. So the Dalet is allowing us to extract spirituality and extract blessing into our life. So that's the Dalet. Then comes in, we're going to open up Shulchan Aruch, and just to show you how much he goes ahead and he puts a lot of emphasis about the idea of how we write the tefillin. So it says here, Lamed Bet, in the first saif, it says, Mitzvat tefillin, שיכתוב 4 פרשיות שהן קדש לכל בכור עד למועדה, והיה כי אביך, עד כי בכור זכייה הוציאנו השם ממצרים, פרשת שמוע עד בשעריך, והיה שמע עד הארץ. So it goes ahead and tells us there's a certain order that we need to write the paragraphs. But wait, what happens if I write it in an opposite order? What happens if I start my prayer with Aleinu L'Shabeach? Why not? I'm saying it. I'm going to say Aleinu, I'm going to say Shema, I'm going to say everything. But why is the order so important? Why do I have to make a progression in my prayer? Why can't I just read everything? But I like it better when I do Shmona Esrei first and then I say all the Korbanot. I like it. It's my favorite way to do it. Why? What we understand here is that when we have everything in life, we have a certain order to it, right? We see the nature, the way it works, the way that flowers grow in a certain way, the way that we progress from being a baby to a kid to an adult to an elder person and then to dust eventually. It's a progression. We cannot go and skip the steps, because if we skip steps in everything will work, right? I'm going to go into a factory and I'm producing now iPhones. But I'm skipping the part that I'm putting the battery in. I don't like putting batteries in. It's a waste of time. What's going to happen? Is the phone going to work? It's not going to work. So it's the same exact thing. If I'm not placing the right components inside of my iPhone, so to speak, inside of my neshama, inside of my tefilah, then I'm not getting the full merits. My phone is not going to work properly. I'm forgetting to put the camera in the back. You know, I like the phone. The phone is working, it's functioning, but there's no camera. How upsetting would it be if I take your camera off your phone? Where's my picture with my grandchildren? Where's my picture in the water park? Where's the picture of me skiing now in Big Bear Mountain? It's annoying. It's upsetting. And we want to live our life without skipping the steps, without missing any step. So the certain order comes in, and each one of them, in this case, comes in and corrects to one of the 10 commandments, which we spoke about last time. Then he comes in the second saif, he says, של ראש יכתוב כל אחד בקלף לבדה, ושל יד כותבן כולם בכתב אחד. When we go in our head, how many scrolls do we have in the Tefilin and Birchot? 4. In the hand, how many you have?
1.
One long one. So it comes in and says we should write the head one, each one individually, and then we should write the hand as one long line. He says, don't go ahead and cut, let's say write a long one for their head, and then cut it into 4 pieces. Because there's supposed to be a certain order of how we perform our work. There's supposed to be a certain order of each one giving us a certain mission, a certain meaning. Same way that fire gives us one aspect of or form of energy in the world, water gives us a different form of energy, wind and dust, or the earth, the same way. And when we say the Shema Echad, and we say go ahead and bring the kavan, the intention, we speak about the four, right? The 4 elements as well. So the same way. We're supposed to give it the respect. The hand, we write it as one because we understand that the whole Torah is one. And it goes to a next step of saying that it doesn't mean it's the Rabbanan, it's the right, everything is one. And it's all an extension of the same concept, of the same spirituality. And that's really the concept for this one. Now we go into the letter Yud. What is Yud standing for? Yud, if you look at it, it's the smallest letter, right? It's like the minimum letter out of all the letters. You see it looks insignificant, but that is actually one of the most powerful, one of the most spiritual letters we can have. The letter Yud connects to the number 10. What is the number 10? 10 is the 10 Sfirot. It's also the root of it, Eser. If I add the Yud in the middle of Eser, after the Shin, what do I get?
Ashir.
Ashir. What is Ashir?
Wealthy.
Wealthy, rich. So if I want to go ahead and add, add the success, add Parnasa, add Ashira. Ashira is not that money. It's about feeling that I don't lack anything. Then you add the Yud into the 10 countings. Now, let's dive into it. It continues. So the idea of Yud comes in as the 10th letter in the alphabet. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, and then Yud is the 10th one. Why is that so? So he comes in and he tells us that the idea is we have to go and work and toil all the way up to the point that we get to 10. So we're going to start refining one trait after the other. We're going to start to refine one sphere after the other until we get to the number 10, which is a complete number. And there's a concept that I learned it in finance. It's called how is it called? Benford law. Does anyone ever heard of it? Benford law? It's basically a law that comes in and says that all numbers that starts with the number 1, for me to move from 1 to 10 will be much harder for me from moving from 10 to 20, let's say, or from 13 to 14. There's called heavy numbers, and there's less heavy numbers. So let me give you another example because it's a bit complex. What about compound interest? For me to move from $100, and then I will compound it. Let's say I get 3% interest on $100, right? So the first year I'm going to get $3. Then the second year I'll get $3.3. So in the beginning, the compound interest would move very, very slow. But as I progress with time, the compound interest is all of a sudden going to start producing me much more money, relatively speaking. Does it make sense? Kind of. So
Like
it's doubling it much, much faster as time progresses. So he says here as well, when we start to work on our character, when we start to work on our spirituality, when we start to grow in our sfirot, in the beginning it's very hard and very tedious. And when we go and we start it, it's usually a grind. It's usually very painful. It's usually very, it's suffering, right? You start, you try, you say, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. In the first 2-3 weeks, how difficult it is. You wanna kill yourself. You wanna say that it's so difficult. I want my Ben and Jerry's ice cream. I want my chocolate cookie, whatever it is. But after a few weeks, it starts to get easier, right? It starts to get more comfortable. The same thing goes with everything in spirituality. Spirituality is the one thing that no one is going to push you to grow in. The rabbi is going to tell you how important it is. Your teacher is going to tell you it's important. You're going to learn it in a class at one day. But a lot of people, they will just go and reverse back to their normal life. They'll forget whatever they heard in the class, and they'll do the same thing over and over again. But once a person decides inside, I'm making a change, that's when you start to grow spiritually. And it's all a personal decision. Think about it. You can force someone to really grow as a person. You can force him temporarily, maybe, but this is what we're trying to achieve with the letter Yud. Is we're trying to go ahead and be able to go and do this progression of work that we have, and then ultimately to be able to acquire it properly, and then it brings us to a complete number, which is a wealthy number, which is a number that's complete, that gives us all the blessings as it should be. I'm sorry, this one goes a bit like this, but hopefully the idea makes sense. So then comes in, and there's a secret that Yeshaya, right, the book of Yeshaya comes in and tells us, Ki beya Hashem tzur alamim. In Minachot Daf Kuftet, in the Gemara, comes in and tells us that the word was created with 2 letters. What are the 2 letters? Yud and Hey. The Yud comes in and talks about the next world, and the Hey comes in and talks about this world. We're not going to go into the whole discussion there, it's a whole back and forth there, but the idea is that the Yud comes in and represents the end of this world and the beginning of the next world. It's the highest point it could be. And how do we understand? We see the Yud. Yud represents to us our idea of humility. That's why it's the smallest out of the bunch. So when we go ahead and we put it next to our arm, and I'm trying to wrap it together, when we put it next to our heart, what are you usually trying to do with your head? Right? We said, Moach sholet al halev, sholet al hakaved. We're trying to take all the emotions, all of the desires, all of the feelings, all the impulsive behavior, we're trying to minimize it. When we minimize that behavior, all of a sudden we can start to become a king of our own destiny. We can start to live the life that we would like to live. We're not being clouded by all these desires, all these mood swings, all of these emotions that come and trouble us along the way. So that is one of the secrets of the Yud, and that's why we put it next to the heart, that we want to take that holiest place and be able to channel it to the proper way, to be able to channel, to control my desires, to minimize them in a sense, to humble ourselves a bit.
That's assuming you wrap it down. Some people wrap it right different. Some people wrap it where the shin is up here and the yud is down here.
No, I'm talking about there's the
box?
It's like not the box. There's like
No,
this.
no.
There's almost like this puffy portion that is where the tying of the tefillin is. That is the portion. The way that you tie it at the end is Chabad. There's a Rizla. There's a Sephardi. They do it different way.
Yeah.
But we're talking about what's connected here, right? You have the actual box, and then you have the actual portion that is where you tie the actual leash.
So not distract.
Not distract. And that's really one of the secrets. Now, I want to show you what, there's going to be the last thing about tefillin for today. Now the Arizal comes in and tells us something really, really interesting. He comes in and gives us about what are the intentions of each portion of the tefillin itself. So he says, first of all, the tefillin we should go ahead and put in modesty. That's why when we go in and put the tefillin, what do we just say about the Yud? We're supposed to humble ourselves. So when we put the hand specifically, we're supposed to put the talit so it covers it, so we don't see it, so it's not revealed. We say the blessing, we finish the blessing, then we go ahead and we start tying. Why is that? Because we're trying to, as we said, to humble the whole experience. And when it comes to Kedusha, all the things that are Kedusha, דבר השורה בו ברכה הוא סמוי מן העין. דבר הסמוי מן העין שורה בו ברכה. There's a rule in the Torah, in general in Jewish life, what is hidden from the eye, that's where the blessing lies. That's why, for example, when we see fish, right? Why do people eat fish on Shabbat? Or why do people look at the ocean and say the ocean was protected in the Mabul, right? You see that fish are not being protected, but many of the disasters that are happening, they are protected from evil eye. And you see it in numerous examples. The Zohar speaks about it, and the water has the blessings for everything, on and on and on and on. But the idea is that what's hidden has a blessing in it. So we want to make sure that the tefillin gives us the appropriate blessing. So we hide it. And then comes in the next thing. He says here, we're not going to jump into it because it's a lot to it, but there's 21 names in the Parshiot, 21 of God's names in the Parshiot of the tefillin. So when we read the Shema, V'yayim Shema, and the likes, we're seeing 21 times the name of Hashem is appearing there. So also interesting to understand how much God is putting himself inside of this mitzvah of tefillin. How much is he trying to allow us to bring light into our life. Then comes in, as I said before, people used to put the tefillin all day and would carry them and would have the right intention. Then he comes in and tells us that the leashes, right, those leashes that we put on top of our neck, the actual leash that we bring it down, this is Ha'arat HaKeter. This is the illumination of the crown of the king. So we basically, what do? We put in something that almost looks like a crown in a way. right? You can think about it, God's crown, that you try to bring it up. Also in our Sfirot, the top Sfirah is the Keter, is the crown. So we're basically arousing that, and we're bringing the extension. Where is it extending to? Where is it extending to? To our heart, and then it extends over the right side to the breath. So we basically are extending all this spiritual light to the rest of our body. Think about it. You now go ahead and you put tefillin for the next time, and you have that intention in your mind, how much more special that tefillin will be. To me, it made a big difference. And then we spoke about the Yud, about the 10 different counts that tefillin has. We're going to finish with I think this would be a good way to end on the tefillin. But just a few things that we can go ahead and we can bring into our life, which makes a whole difference. Now, next topic we want to have is this one. I actually want you to open in the regular Siddur. This one is page 16 or 16. Right. So this is the Birchot HaTorah. So let me see where I put it. All right. Now, the idea is, when we go ahead and we start our morning, right? We said we wash our hands, we do Tefilah, we say Moderni. Then we go ahead, we wash our hands, we use the restroom, we say Yatzah. Then we start by saying, what will be the next thing we usually do? Before we learn, before we do everything, some people do it as soon as they wake up. Some people will get to the shul and then do it. But the idea is we say Birchot HaTorah, the blessings of the Torah, before Birchot HaShachar. Right, before even before that are the blessings of the Torah. And it comes in and it's built, and my rabbi in New York, Rabbi Shippo, once told us that if we go ahead and we do anything that's related to Torah, and by being Jewish, everything pretty much is related to Torah. If you're doing anything without having the blessings of the Torah beforehand, it's like you're doing it academically, it's like you're doing it barren from spirituality. So you don't get any merits out of it for any spiritual, any mitzvah. You have to say those blessings to begin with. And he says more than that, and Halacha comes in and tells us that you should not start learning Torah before you bless these blessings. Now, each day comes in and tells us you have to go ahead and say 3 blessings, and then read a few words of Torah. So if we look at it, there's 3 portions here in the blessings of the Torah. So we'll talk about the Sigul after. So it comes in and says, Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. So that's the first thing. That's first of all the mitzvah that God gives us. He commanded us to go ahead and deal with the words of Torah. What does it mean? That He wants us to be living in this world, connecting to spirituality, adding the light, adding the spiritual light, being a light to the nations. That's first of all. And the mitzvot of Torah and the mitzvot of the Torah, or the practical tools that we would feel in tzitzit, mezuzah, Shabbat. These are all some of the tools that allow us to bring spirituality to the world. As we said, like last time, the plumber, he needs to have his wrench, and he needs to have the tools that he have in order to fix the leak. The same way a Jewish person needs to have his tefillin, needs to have his tzitzit in order to fix the world. Now, if I understand that, then of course, I'll first of all make sure that my eyesight and my kavanah is the right way. Then the second thing it says, make sure that I have success in my learning. I can learn for days, and I can stay and sit like this. I don't understand anything. I can learn for weeks, and I look at the rabbi, I have no idea what you're saying. How many times it happens? Maybe in the beginning of my learning, I would look at the rabbi, what time is it now? I would just look to run away from that place, because I had no idea what I'm talking about. So we have to ask for the blessing in the learning. And that's why we say, V'harevna. What is V'harevna? V'harevna, make the Torah sweet. Make my understanding of the Torah sweet. Make me get excited about it. Make me be enjoying the process. Because if we don't enjoy the process, then okay, I'm just doing it because my dad told me I have to, or because my rabbi told me it's important, that can add good things to my life. But I don't see it, I don't feel it, I don't taste it. Then it's not the same. Then I'm going to be frustrated every single time I go and learn. And that's a problem. Then he comes in and tells us, the third one is saying thank you for choosing us from the rest of the nations and for giving us the Torah. We just finished, right? And last week's Parsha. We're starting to talk about the giving of the Torah, and we're starting to talk about the commandments and the like. Like we received something that was, I think, the only mass revelation of God in the history of mankind. 600,000 people receive 600? No more. 600,000 going ahead and receiving the Torah. Nothing in the history. You see, like the other religiosity said, he saw a wagon in the sky with fire, and he saw him walking on water. All these nonsense. You see, okay, a few people said that they saw it. I can now say that Asher now was flying in the air now with the wings. Okay, so I said it. Does it mean it's true? No, you need to have witnesses, and you need to have some sort of a testimony, right? That's why we don't just accept someone's testimony when it comes to a court. We have to see a number of witnesses. We have to go ahead and contradict the opinions. We have to do a cross-examination, and then we come to a conclusion. So he says here that these blessings come and basically prepare us to receive the Torah. And then what do we do after? There's a minhag to say the Birkat Kohanim, right? So we're trying to first of all have Hashem go and protect us and save us in the process. Then what do we do after? You see, Elu Dvarim She'en Lahem Shiur. This is Mishnah. So we immediately start after we finish with the blessing. We immediately start with Mishnah. Why do we do that? Suggestions.
Like the bracha on food, you make the bracha and you have the maisi, you actually eat the food, so you're doing bracha on Torah, you have to learn Torah, and it's on. So
Exactly.
so,
And the whole idea there is that I'm now saying a bracha on tefillin. I'm supposed to put the tefillin on. I'm supposed to now, I now went ahead and says Birkat Hamotzi Lechem. I need to eat the bread. Like the fact that I'm saying the bracha, it's a preparation to perform the mitzvah. So if I'm now saying the blessings of the Torah, I now walk away. It's like me now saying I'm going to put tefillin on and then not putting it. And it's bigger than that. The Baal Shem Tov used to go ahead and do these mini promises. Was it Baal Shem Tov or Abi Nachman? I believe it was Baal Shem Tov. He went ahead and he did mini promises. I'm going to pick up this book right now. I promise you I'm going to pick up this book. I promise you I'm going to raise this cup. Like small promises. Why is that? He tried to go ahead and get in the habit of standing behind his words. If I'm now saying a bracha, I'm going to perform what I'm saying I'm going to do. And then eventually you go ahead and you promise bigger things, if you can, if you're able to. But a person's word, a person's kavanah, a person's intention is so important in this world. Think about a person who proved to you numerous times that he stands behind his word. How much are you going to trust him? How much are you going to give him something that's important to you? If I know now that Albert's standing behind his word to record the class, I trust him that he comes with a computer and records the class, for example. So now I have respect, I have honor, I have responsibility level, I have a trust level with Albert. Now
so you really shouldn't say bli neder then.
So bli neder comes in. The idea with neder is it really binds you, and if you don't do what you promise you would do, you're in a lot of sins that work around you. So and then you need to go and wait until Rosh Hashanah to be able to do Atarat Nedarim. Some say Yom Kippur. So you go ahead and you have to wait this whole time with carrying this basically this promise that you didn't fulfill.
It's not really out.
It's what bli neder? Bli neder is definitely an out for the vow. But if I'm now giving my word to someone, I'm just saying bli neder every day and I just don't fulfill what I say, the person is not going to trust me. And it comes the same when we go now to Hashem and we say, Hashem, I need now cure for my whatever it is. I need now to have blessings so that I buy my house in Tanzania. I need the blessing now to marry off my kids. Whatever the blessing that a person is looking for. And then you say to him, and I promise I'm going to be close to you and I'm going to love you and I'm going to serve you and I'm going to pray 3 times a day. And you don't do it. So you break his trust. Why should I give you these blessings? Why should I give you these gifts if you cannot hold your word to me? And that's a big issue. So that's the whole concept here, that we do something, we say a bracha, go ahead and fulfill the bracha. You promise something, go ahead and satisfy the promise. I said I'm going to give tzedakah and I didn't give tzedakah. It's a really big issue. I say now I'm going to repay a loan and I'm not repaying the loan. Big issue. I'm not standing behind my word. And we don't understand how big it is and how great it is. Like, for example, a person, we went to this topic, right, of loan or money I give, or tzedakah, no tzedakah. If a person has flaws there, you should then not be surprised that his parnasa is not going well. If a person has issues with, I'm not going to eat on Fridays until Shabbat. And then you eat before Shabbat. Then don't be surprised that Shabbat is not going as smooth as you would hope for. And it goes on to every aspect of life. So we really should be, as we said in the beginning, awake to what we promise, awake to what we behave and how we behave. Then comes in, and we're going to go ahead and move to the Shulchan Aruch about the idea of Birchot HaShachar.
Can I ask a halacha question?
Yes?
Are we supposed to say Birchot HaTorah before putting on Tefilin? Because when we put on Tefilin, we say some Pesukim
Yes, we're supposed to say Birchot HaTorah right away,
before.
everything. The idea is I wake up in the morning, I finished all the Asher Yatzar, I finished all the washing the hands, I finished the Modeh Ani, I go ahead and I say Birchot HaTorah, and then I prepare myself. It comes also in the Siddur, I see it here, comes Birchot HaTorah, then continues, the next thing is wearing the talit, then the next thing is Tefilin. I believe it should be the same there.
No, here it has Tefilin
Here is
before Birchot HaTorah.
Before?
Yeah.
So I know that according to Sephardim, according to Sephard, it's better to say the Birchot HaTorah to begin with.
Makes sense.
Also, my Rabbi Shippo, he's Ashkenazi Rabbi, and he goes ahead and says, first of all, say that because when we do that, when we put the tefillin, what are we in essence doing? We're performing a mitzvah by Hashem. So me now going and doing it and keeping it on an academic level, again, lehavdil, but it's not a good thing.
We say Rabbi Handwerker won't, let us learn until we say that.
Yeah, Birchot HaTorah.
Rabbi Horowitz also, you're supposed to do it first.
Yeah. So let's see what the Shulchan Aruch comes in and tells about it. So he says, Birchot HaTorah tzach lizaher babnot. We need to be very, very cautious with the Birchot HaTorah. Then he comes in and tells us, tzach levarech ben mikra leben mishnah leben brara. So we have to go ahead and whatever we try to learn, whatever we try to deal with, we have to go ahead and bless first. Then he says, "Hakotev b'divrei Torah, af al pi she'eno koreh tzach levarech." Even if you just write Torah, I'm sitting down. I'm not even talking anything. I'm not reading anything, but I'm writing Torah. I'm writing now something that has to do something with Torah. I have to bless as well. What about me now going ahead and pondering? Just thinking in my head. The rabbi said this, the rabbi said that. Halacha, what should I do? But only in your head. Then it says you don't need to. But there's some opinions that go ahead and says Yichol yifsok din belo netinat. Let's see, belo netinat tam ledvara. So there's different opinions that might try to challenge it if we go into the Mishnah Berurah and we go in a bit deeper. But the halacha, we go ahead and we don't have to do it when we ponder. Can we?
The blessing lasts all day.
And the blessing lasts for the whole day, as long as you validate it by doing what? By doing the Mishnah right after. So that's for that. Then.
If the person goes to sleep, take a nap during the day, there's no interruption.
Take a nap?
Mm-hmm.
How much is a nap? From what I understand, I don't think it bothers. I don't think you need to say again because it's not permanent sleep. It's not the sleep of the night also. Also, there's, like with Netilat Yadayim, from what I remember, you don't have to wash again if you went on a nap in the middle of the day. So it should be about the same weight. But I can check more, just to double check. There's one thing I want to finish with, and there's a story about Rav Zusha Napoli. I went when I was with the Biala Rebbe back in 2018. I went on a trip to Ukraine. Now it's a bit harder, I guess, to do. But I went on a trip to Ukraine. We're supposed to go to. We're supposed to start by Kiev. Then we're supposed to have a plane wait for us and take us to Rabbi Nachman, Rabbi Zusha Napoli, and then do Shabbat by the Baal Shem Tov. And a lot of this nisyonot happened. This is a whole Hasidic story that has a lot of miracles in it. One day I can share the whole story. But we got to miss Rav Zusha Napoli, and we got the chance also only to be in the Baal Shem Tov. And we understood that basically how much we missed. And when did we understand it? Maybe a few years after as we progressed. So what is the story? What is Rav Zusha Napoli comes in and says? He says there was a story that they met in one of the villages. Somebody, his name was Rabbi David Milalov. That he was a young boy that wasn't someone special. He was in a normal family. The parents were just simple Yidin, nothing out of the ordinary. And they came in and they saw it. He was like really a big Rav. He became, very knowledgeable on the secrets of Torah, and he knew inside and out every aspect of the Torah. And they asked the parents, "What did you do with this kid that he grew to be so talented, so special?" So they came in and said, "No, we're not doing something special." The wife said, "Maybe ask my husband. Maybe he'll tell you something else." So they went ahead and they said, "No, I'm going to 3 times a day. I pray, normal prayer. And I live a Jewish life, try to do my best." So I came in, and, on simplistic level, they weren't convinced. They said, there has to be something else there. So they came in and they asked, what's going on? So the wife said at the end, listen, I'll tell you. There's a song that we sing on Shabbat that's called V'zakeni legadel banim uvnei banim. And she says that every time we would hear this, I would go ahead and get to start this song, he would start crying and crying and crying and crying about this idea of raising sons to be knowledgeable in Torah and tzaddikim and pure. And he would just go and cry and cry and cry up until the point he would pass out. And it would happen every Shabbat. And then for them, they understood. They understood that that's why we see the face of this rabbi. We understand the greatness of this person. Why is it connected to our class today? Because when we go ahead and we refine our thoughts, when we go ahead and we do all this work to daven and to pray, we basically are trying to absorb light into our life. The Birchot HaTorah that we come in and we have to recite every morning to begin the day, he comes in here and it basically tells us, I'll read it from the book, he comes in and tells us, תמיד תהיה תפילת האב והאם שגורה בפיהם להתפלל על בניהם שיהיו לומדי תורה וצדיקים ובעלי מידות טובות ויכוון מאוד בברכת אהבה רבה ובברכת התורה שאומרים ונהיה אנחנו וצאצאינו. Every time we say the Birchot HaTorah, if we want to have kids that are righteous, if we want to have success for our family, if we want to be able to merit to have kids that we're proud of, every one of us, even if we're young, if you're 15 years old, you want to grow and have eventually kids who are going to be proper kids, successful kids, kids that will pass on the legacy. You should pray in the Birchot HaTorah, especially in the portion that it says, "אנחנו וצאצאינו צאצאי צאצאינו, אנחנו דת שמך ולומדי תורתך לשמה." We're supposed to have the utmost kavana that my kids will be that my kids will be tzaddikim, and boys and girls alike, and then also that we will not forget what we learn. Right, so when we do it, we will basically have to go ahead and also, we're talking about us understanding what we're learning, right, and being successful in learning. So if we remember better what we learn, if we remember better why we're praying in a certain way, if we remember that we're learning something, we're actually remembering what we had in that class, or we now took a few key points from this class today, then we take it with us and we pass it on at the end of the day to who? To our kids and to our family. And that is a merit for us also to be able to be successful in raising kids in the proper way that we should be. So Bezat Hashem, hopefully this class will add more to our kavanah, will add more to the knowledge we have about Torah, about Tefilin, and about all the blessings that we can get out of it. Bezat Hashem.